IPC Sunday School, Class 6, Lesson-13, Samuel. Please make sure to read the reading portion, 1 Samuel chapters 1 to 12, before proceeding ahead. After Samson, Israel did not have judges. During this time, Eli the priest was serving in Shiloh. And since he failed to make his children walk in the ways of God, his days were very much miserable and darkened. His name does not even appear in the list of priests. At around this time, there was a certain man named Elkanah from Ramathaim Zophim of the hill country of Ephraim. He had two wives. One was Hannah, which means grace, and the other was Peninnah, means coral. Hannah did not have children. They were regularly offering sacrifices to Jehovah from year to year in Shiloh. Though these were joyful occasions, Hannah was not happy. And furthermore, Peninnah, who had children, provoked and teased her very often. So Hannah was very grieved and ate nothing. And afterward, Hannah came to the house of God. Hannah cried and prayed to God and made a vow that if God would give her a son, she would give him to the Lord all the days of his life, and his hair will never be cut. And the Lord heard her prayer. She returned. 1 year later, a boy was born, and she named him Samuel. And when she had weaned him, she took him up with her to the temple and dedicated him for the Lord. Moreover, she made him a little dressing gown and brought it to him every year when she came up with her husband to offer the yearly sacrifice. Now the boy Samuel ministered to the Lord before Eli, and the word of the Lord were rare in those days. There were no frequent visions, and it came to pass that the eyesight of the priest Eli became dim. He lay down and slept. One night, Samuel was lying beside the ark of God. The lamp of God, which was to be burned continuously in the temple, was not yet gone out. And Jehovah called Samuel 4 times. Now Samuel did not recognize that it was the voice of God, and so he went to Eli instead. According to Eli's instructions, Samuel attended to God's call the 4th time, saying, "Speak, Lord, for your servant hears." God gave Samuel the ministry and the message of the future, and the Lord was with him. He was known to be a faithful prophet of God from Dan to Beersheba. There was a war between Israel and the Philistines. Israel was defeated in this battle, and the Philistines carried away the ark of God. 34,000 people were killed in Israel. Eli's 2 sons, Hophni and Phinehas, who were unfaithful to God, were also killed in this battle. Knowing that the ark of God was taken away, the 98-year-old Eli fell backward from his seat and broke his neck and died. Now his daughter-in-law, Phinehas's wife, was with child, due to be delivered. And when she heard the news that the ark of God was taken away, and about the death of her father-in-law and her husband, she bowed herself in pain and gave birth to a son called Ichabod, meaning, "The glory has departed from Israel." After Eli's death, Samuel took over as the judge of Israel. The Philistines placed the ark of God in the house of Dagon in Ashdod. Now when the people of Ashdod arose early in the morning, they saw that the statue of Dagon was fallen to the face of the earth before the ark of the Lord. And this happened twice. So because Dagon was destroyed, they put the ark in Gath and Ekron, and everywhere there was plague. The ark of God was kept in Philistines for 7 months. So when the Philistines planned to send the ark of God back to Israel, they made 5 golden tumors and 5 golden mice representing the lord of the Philistine cities, Ashdod, Gaza, Ashkelon, Gath, and Ekron. They prepared a new cart pulled by 2 cows to send the ark of God along with the trespass offering. And the cart came into the field of Joshua, a Bethshemite, and stood. Now, now it came to pass when Samuel was old that he made his sons judges over Israel. The name of his firstborn was Joel, and the name of his second Abijah. They were judges in Beersheba. But his sons did not walk in his ways. They accepted pride and perverted justice, and because of this, the people of Israel hated them. Then all the elders of Israel gathered together and came to Samuel and demanded for a king. But Samuel sought the face of God in prayer for God's will. The Lord instructed Samuel to fulfill the desire of people, even though it was not God's divine plan for them. A man named Saul, the son of Kish, from the tribe of Benjamin, came to Samuel the prophet, along with his servant boy, searching for the lost donkeys of his father. He was handsome in appearance and taller than any of the people. God had already told Samuel about Saul, and near the borders of Ramah, Samuel anointed Saul as king. And Samuel called the Israelites to Mizpah and selected Saul by casting lot. Thus Samuel publicly presented Saul as the king of Israel. Samuel told the people that God was not in favor of the demand of people for a king. After the battle with the Ammonites, Samuel further declared Saul as king over all Israel in Gilgal. The third major ministry done by Samuel during his old age was to anoint David as the king of Israel. And this was because of Saul's disobedience. Jehovah, through Samuel, told Saul to defeat the Amalekites and destroy all that they had. And when he had defeated the Amalekites, he spared Agag the king and the best of the livestock. Saul's disobedience was displeasing to Jehovah. Samuel, being sent by God, came to Saul and told him that God had rejected him from the kingship of Israel. Then Samuel came into Bethlehem with the anointing oil according to the word of the Lord, and he anointed David, meaning beloved, the 8th son of Jesse, as king over Israel. And Samuel died in a good old age, and all the Israelites gathered together and mourned for him, and buried him at his home in Ramah. To conclude, Samuel was a priest, a prophet, and a judge whose secret of success was prayer. He always sought the will of God in everything he did. Samuel was dedicated and faithful in the work of the Lord. And we must strive to be like Samuel, have a powerful prayer life, and always be faithful and dedicated to the work that God has assigned to us. Prayer is the only way to know God's will and to get out of problems in our lives. May God bless you all.